Ancient Pod Jack. God bless the day that I was born, to behold this nation and this civilization. Many plenty people that are saying, God, 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 they don't have the full knowledge of the dynasty or God's moral laws. We have to be living among one another to give the true essence of our God, Haile Selassie, Tetragrammaton, who is so mighty and triumphant. He is King Alpha seated with Queen Omega. We respect people because God respect we. The more love we give, the more God give us love and respect. We are all one people. The color of the skin should not be an obstacle in the way. Every man is earth. Some are looking in the sky for a God. Look into yourself for the image of God and clear your mind. Be peaceful and loving and know that we are all one people in the eyes of our God, Haile Selassie, Tetragrammaton. Some will say Jesus, but I have to say, will say Negus, due to my birthright, because King Alpha and Queen Omega Tetragrammaton is the one who granted us life and love. We are only living on the earth, which is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. It also the world, and they that dwell therein. General knowledge of things is the path to enable. Should make each one live peaceful and social among each other. As the saying goes, the more we are together, the happier we shall be. Hurt not the earth. Every man is earth. The church is one foundation, which is Negus Christ, our Lord. Now our God is King. Therefore we, the children of the earth, must be princes and princess. Also the earth need to be balanced, and the purity of earth is love with purity and love. Testimony of Ross Maurice, Ites, Clark, March 5th, 2016, 21 First Street, Washington, D.C. Recorded and transcribed by Jakes Homiak. J. So, pertaining to the king's visit, let's reel forward to Foreshore Road, getting ready to go off to the airport. What time of day is it? What is the scene? Ites. Well, we take up the people them assembled who is coming with us at Foreshore Road. It was remarkable, as I did tell you. Pa Ashanti and Ma Ashanti were there, and the other day, as I try to remember if Bongo Time were there. You say Earlites did fill you in on a vibes pertaining to that. But down the line, Dizzy Johnson, member of the Scottalites, were there, Marathon were there, Legsman and Millicent were there, which is Legsman Queen, and Bulla Rim were there, which is the said Sekliman. And as I say, Tawnyman were there. Bongo Herman didn't go upon it, because him feel we would go with the king, i.e. be going away with the king. J. So what time of day you is leaving? Ites. According to my memory, is a time when I don't think His Majesty is coming in after midday. So is best fe we leave from early. So I would say at like 9 o'clock we leave. You go behind that, you late, you know. Because the radio with Jeff Barnes, RJR, was announcing. Remember, I say I not leave my transistor radio, you know, because that's a big thing for we. And Jeff Barnes, RJR, was talking about, I don't know which part him was, but to me it come like him was announcing out of the roundabout, out of Harborview. J. This was RJR, Jeff Barnes? Ites. Yes, him name dea in the thing. Like how our brethren, Dermot Hussey, you know? So what really happened, my estimations say that Jeff would have to be somewhere on that side. Why? Because him talking about the vehicle coming from St. Thomas and the ones coming from town. Because remember, is two roads, you know. One a come from St. Thomas and one from town. Him was running off him mouth whole time with describing these heap of groups coming in and yeah, you know, like him announce cricket or sports. It was something attract we. Because we go into airport not upon a speed business. Because as soon as we reach Windward Road, you can't drive too fast. Because every other vehicle where you see a come from different part, whether it's a car or old van or certain thing, is heading toward the same mission. And it give you joy too, because you can see all certain brethren that you know, pon truck, and the flag and all them thing. So because of what was going on, we just start a ting, ayayanting, you know? I have seen the king when him come. I have seen the king when him come. I have seen the king. I have seen the king. I have seen the king when him come this day. And everyone just join in a one einity. I have seen the king when him come. I have seen the king when him come. So one person go up with that chant, and it reach everyone, and the next person just chip in a line like, I have seen the king this day. I have seen the king this day. And we picked that up. It was a joy, you know. That was the song that was sung by the ones in our truck on way to airport. Because, as I tell you, every vehicle been like it have something wagwan and played different drums and ting. J. So it was like a parade. Ites. Yes. And we not going too fast, but we reaching still. Because when we go to the airport, we were parked at a distance, like, you know, Jakes, and me almost cry to Blow Street when His Majesty get into the vehicle and leave, you see. And I did abandon my baby mother, Cherry, from the waving gallery, and her son, which is not my son, but Mortimer's brother. So I did leave him with her, go on my ways. So she never did make that mission to following we onto the tarmac. She had to stay up there and look and see what she could see and come off of the waving gallery and use going to the truck as an ID to find we again. But when we come together now and say, rotted, His Majesty gone, and everyone a put themselves together to find back the truck, it delay we a little to find out where Cherry dare. But all you have to do if find back the truck, 'cause His Majesty gone already. So I could almost cry, I could tell you, Jakes, when I entered the truck, you see. And the truck can't move fast, just to go so according to the amount of the vehicles what come so and dare before you. And I listened to the transistor radio wherein, what make I tell you that I almost cry is that I want to get near His Majesty. you know, is the transistor radio is telling me that now His Majesty is going up Orange Street round a parade, you know? And I who come from Kingston know the distance it is. Narrate. But the fact is this, that we have enough time still, because His Majesty is going to King's house and change over, and you know. J. So you already knew the itinerary of His Majesty because it was published. Ites. Yes, but I never follow it up in my mind. But into the truck, other people did know it. I know it too, but I never expect to be so far back. J. So put yourself at the airport and tell me who you see and how that go. Ites. We just reach out parking, find a part. Well, we as Kingstonians know say we not go stay pon the ground. We who understand airport runnings and the airport, we're heading to the waving gallery, which if people did enough before we go up there, and is going up there, you know, you say you're going to have to bump and bore, and it pack already. People did enough on the ground before we reach. We have to find somewhere, because you're not going to stay back. So we find a way, not so much from a group point of view, we find a way from an individual point of view. So man go him own ways to get a scenery. So therefore, I remember that I was responsible for going with Cherry and her son, and at least Marathon and certain people who stick close together, like Legsman and so on. Because we are close people. Dizzy Johnny, a physical youth like that too. And we go. But I couldn't give you an account that Bullarim go with we or Tawny. So therefore, and again too, Pa Ashanti had a queen, Ayata, who was with I. And I find myself at a scene where I can see everything, like plane coming in and all of that. Because the waving gallery sets so like, it have a higher part, so you can see. Like when you go to a stadium. And I can remember one of the brethren, an active brethren, who go up there upon one of the flagpole and take down the Jamaican flag and put up the big red, gold, and green. Maybe upon a documentary. What I can't forget is that when I come in, Mortimer Plano was on the ground, seen, laying by himself like a man a meditate, you know? See him after we park upon the grounds itself. And I remember that plenty. And I remember even the clothes that him have on. And that clothes was, bring me back to a memory when him did go Ethiopia and him come back with certain outfit, you know? 'Cause him was dressed with one of them outfits. Not the normal pants and shirt kind thing. Maybe you call it shama. J. It's an Ethiopian gown like. Ites. Yes, he would be proud enough to wear that. J. So how was you dressed, Ites? Ites. I was just dressed in me little short pants. I never have a shoes, and I never carry me rod with me. I is generally a man with a rod them time. Legsman dressed them sort of way too. Me never wear hat. When I first wear hat is when Cherry knit hat. When I wear hat, it could be Trench Town, when I was preparing to go to Ocho Rios. J. Make we come back the plane thing. Ites. Now we were up there in the waving gallery, and plane passed before him come. But when it coming, people start to joy up and say, "Ee, it's he! Is it that?" And all dem ting there. I would say is some country boy a say dem ting there, 'cause we dey a town No, say, the plane have to come from the east, like St. Thomas way. How these earlier planes come in, and then the scene is that is like rain is coming, and you know that rain is going to have to wet up people. But we kind of don't even pay that no mind. But rain is coming. We now looking south, because it's how we face turn. Is south you looking when you depon the waving gallery. Now it be that the thick black cloud over there in the distance, now everyone focus that way. The thick cloud, it never shock me still, but is the rain. Rotted, we say, is rain a come. And then, all of a sudden, you see a flock of white bird passing through. Just slide through the black cloud there so. Is because is a bird area, because Lime Key, Rokamon Key, Gun Key, and Southeast Key out there. And sometime when you look on these places out there, you'll see a white place, but is bird. The amount of them that is on the ground, it look like is a white sand or something. And they pass by, enough of them, you know, like some dove slide through. Then another plane pass through, and people say, see it there? But I know that is not it. And when that plane come through that little black cloud, the rain kinda slightly ease up. It was most remarkable and caused a big uproar because we have seen the portrait of a lion on the front of the plane, you know, which is enough evidence to say, is it that? Well, the plane had to go way out yonder there and stop on the tarmac as how plane arrive. And they take time and dolly come on. Because it turned back. It stopped. And come now towardsing the finishing touch. From its stop, you must realize the amount of stampede. I wasn't upon the ground looking around the place, you know. But I know, say, down the ground, it get out of control with the security. With them who used to keep them eye upon security and stop you from past there so. And I know what them go through, you know. But I would tell someone that security never give a damn because they wanted to see His Majesty themselves. So them forget them duty. For how would His Majesty come there so and them couldn't tell anyone them don't see His Majesty? It make you forget your duty, seen? And then I run off or go run to the plane. And when I go out to the plane, Jakes, is because of the crowd that I never go against the plane. Can't bore in there so. I was like about 45 feet or so from the plane. But my eyes could see everything properly. And I see Mon's chalice. I see smoke. I see all of these kind of things. But His Majesty don't come off of the plane yet. When a plane stop like that, there's no plane stop so and the door just open and people come out. There is some quietness and settle down. But there was one person looking through the windows up where the pilot is, like peeping through, like a wonder what gwan out there, from the pilot cabin, you know. But I don't know who is looking round there still. But there was once upon a time that we witnessed. Everyone's interest is to see His Majesty come out of the plane. The vehicle now that they're awaiting, they were awaiting that vehicle that's supposed to go up there and hitch up the steps. And when that step connect there, which is a person go up and fix the thing, then one a time we see His Majesty. We see Him. It must Him, because Him come out and go back in, seen. And then all of a sudden you see certain dignitaries gone up there, like the Governor General and Colonel Dunstan Robinson, which is the Chief of Staff. And then certain dignitaries I wouldn't know by name. And I remember when Mortimer Plano is going up there to deal with the crowd. But in my estimation, Mortimer Plano has a connection in his circle. There's an Ethiopian ambassador for Trinidad, Jamaica, and maybe somewhere else. That one ambassador covered those areas, and he oftentimes visit Jamaica. And Mortimer Plano may have some connection to him. So I am thinking maybe their ambassador did fetch him and something did organize. That when His Majesty come, they work like that. So in that period of time, while waiting for His Imperial Majesty to come off the plane, you must realize if them be awaiting somebody to control these people, then Mortimer Plano wasn't too far. J. Certain people say that his name was called on the public address system. You remember that? Ites. No, my attention was in the crowd and thing. But from where I was and viewed the situation, him couldn't be too far from there so. Remember, Mortimer Plano was a very important and remarkable person in the whole entire source of His Majesty's visit, you know. And him is a dignitary person, different from who they, whether you want to call their name. But Mortimer Plano had been very special in associate with certain academics and people of society and certain international people where the average man out there don't. So Plano gone up there and we watched that. And the big hooray and all of them ting there. So His Majesty come off and wave to everyone and create a big nice joy. And then him coming down to him vehicle. Believe you me, Jakes, I is looking on His Majesty same as how I see him pon the portrait, you know? When I use these words in my presentation to anyone in my University of Adversity speech, which is, I have all the meanings to use that word, phrase. I would tell them that when I was graduated from that university is when His Majesty come here to Jamaica. Because I am well convinced in my works to see that. Of course, I don't day upon the wrong course. That was the greatest day of my life. Because that is the person what you hear about. That is the person I have seen. And a different vibes come over me, especially at the demolition time, that we have to find a new constituency of our own. And the teaching is just begun. That inspiration make I up here in the US till now. Because my teaching is for people to know what took place. Younger people and even people of my age. Nuff man couldn't give a testimony like what I give. Them never read that much and them never follow international affairs. J. When you refer to demolition time, what are you referring to? Ites. Now remember, the government is planning to mash down Bakawal, you know, and other encampments, Aki Walk and all them ting there. You can imagine how Prince Emmanuel, as an elder who don't mix up in certain kind of things, him don't know where he is going to go, which is him end up going to Trenchtown. But him probably did have some connection to the eastern property in Bull Bay, wherein him did transit. But the demolition which I talking about is a demolition time, you know? And what boost up this demolition, and it's hard for one to tell me it's not that too, is, remember, is a disgrace we bring down upon the government, you know? And a vital person in the midst of that, what responsible for the cleanup campaign, would be Gordon Langdon. You see? And we did still under the yoke of the British colonialism in Jamaica. It never gone yet. J. When you say is a disgrace, you mean because Rasta mash up the official protocol? Ites. Yes, with His Majesty's visit. Yes, that is important to every government and of the world, you know. Them bust we ass. And at the time, what they did to Rasta in Jamaica was not fully known. Because at that time, the news media wasn't like today. When you see all this on Facebook or a man send an email and all of that. Things happen what never publish, made public, you know. Like man beat up and all them things there. And I was telling someone the other day about the Wairika Hill raid during the time of the 1961 mission Come Back from Africa, when the police raid me in Wairika Hill. Thing like that, you know. So the demolition is something that we know it planned. Because me and Legsman move already from Foreshore Road, where we dea. Which part we move is to exactly where Wary Wharf is now. And Sam Brown is where Powerhouse is, at the bottom of Industrial Terrace. J. Sam Brown did give me testimony about how after the visit, the government send torpedoes to mash up him yard and mash up him car. Ites. Listen, him and Siaga have a fight pon that, you know, pon the radio and publicly and all that. And Siaga talk about this unscrupulous Rastafarian what send in a bill to the government, say them destroy him American limousine car and all that. And Siaga was talking on the radio saying that Sam Brown say him lose 500 5-shilling piece, the one with Marcus Garvey photo, which was the little red one. Ites gives an excursion of Sam's patronage connections with the JLP and getting contracts for make work stuff. Sam Brown is a man who defend himself vertically and him no afraid of people. So him get back pon radio with some kind of argument, and even in the press, because that time it was Theodus Seeley, the managing editor, and Oliver Clark, the Gleaner Company. Me good like that. Have a good memory. Me know them people. At that time it was Harbor Street, where Gleaner was located. J. Next day after the king land, you never pick up a newspaper and see what it say? Ites. Now you ask a good question. My information that I would gather is either from my transistor radio or the Gleaner. Because me's a man who read plenty and me must have a Gleaner. Because the next morning we would read the Morning Gleaner, which everybody want to glance upon, that to hear what it say. So dem, the Gleaner, start lick out something about we already. I can't remember the direct line of it, but people start talk about our behavior. And the next column would have praises on His Majesty and where him go and all them kind of ting. But the capital part of it is the airport thing, with all the scramble. J. The next day the Gleaner headlines said, "The Negus wept." Were you close enough to see that? Ites. No, man. Me hear brethren talk about that, but me not see it. J. What about leaving and going to the stadium? Ites. So we leave airport, going back to Kingston. We now going to shortcut it up Oliver Road rather than go out so all the way to Mountain View. Because we cut off certain vehicle before, or do not think of it if we do that. Is east me know plentifully. So we go up Oliver Road and go through Butt Crescent, through Hildene Avenue, and drop out of front Lobsome Road upon Mountain View, and past Jake's Road, the right day so to Stadium. The stadium was packed already when we reached there. It loaded up, but some space still. Stadium now. I still is having Cherry and her ute in my jurisdiction. So we and others go through the Marathon Tunnel to Stadium, which name for Herb McKinley. So that is where me and whosoever walking through. And I try find a place upon a higher rise, which it was easy for me. I find myself upon a certain level, and where I reach is that same entrance His Majesty gonna take when he's coming in. Where I was is overlooking anyone coming in a vehicle. I was almost to the edge of the entrance, where I could see him driving in and see him head part and that. And he dey so, and he and everybody a hail him, and him look round pon me and everybody at the same time, you know, because him don't come and a look pon Ites along. You call him, but it no look like is you individually his is penetrating. J. His Majesty gave an address at the stadium. You remember any of that? Iris. Yes. I listen it, but I can't really. I doesn't retain the entire speech from the beginning. But I can recall when His Majesty was saying that the people in Jamaica and the Ethiopians are one. And that make the stadium get big. Room! From where I was is like the middle of the stadium is like a yard where sport's going on. That is where they write His Majesty's name. But his people doing that, outlining his name. You know, in different uniform, like schoolgirls and all them thing there, making the name. J. Making the letters of the name through formation? Iris. Yes. And where I was is way down yonder day, over the other side. And His Majesty sit up at a place where those officials seated. To my glance, that side of the stadium would look way down over so. And I see His Majesty at the podium when he gonna speak. It was the greatest thing in my life, Jakes, all now. And when we think of it, I had to know, by telling anyone when I reason, that was the time when I graduate in the faith, you know, when His Majesty come. Because there's nothing more a man can show me, forget me off of His Majesty. Sylvia Pankhurst show me enough, and all certain kind of ting what me read and people, and all the history of the ting coming up. I was so strong that I never fall to the Reverend Claudius thing, i.e. 1959 Henry affair. You know, believe you me, that would be a big disgrace to me and my brethren them, you know, because people come down pon we and say, me hear sound you'll go away, you know, and all that them thing. Laughs. Vendors and fishermen, me never fall to that. That remind me of one of we brethren, Bongo H. Him a tell we dem time that we a go away with His Majesty when him come. No, it disturbed me up bad. Him and the next few brethren like that don't even go to airport. Dim go back a country, sit down and wait pon His Majesty. My few words on that is that you have certain brethren that don't develop something. Them don't reach to a Rasta standard, where the university under Rex Nettleford and them mission finding, when them go research Rasta around the place, show you that the Rastafarian are of the highest moral fiber. When you meet a brethren from them ages, you're supposed to meet him with a development of moral intellect, consciousness, that you could go around the world with a reasoning, i.e. have a broad, informative reasoning. Ites. Well, after stadium session, and we go and we vehicle, is anywhere the vehicle in front of we going, you follow that. So it's a group of ones, cause thing done done. The king gone a king's house. You wouldn't want to go there? Of course. So people, not in my company, is there them gonna head for, in whatever vehicle them going. Jake, so what is the scenery at King's house? Ites, when we were at King's house, we were not permissioned into that source to be in King's house. Is special people by invitation would going there. But the protocol of that is broken now. Maybe the soldiers did get the instruction that is people with pass and all of that. Is not something them could handle. Them couldn't handle over the airport. I don't know how them going to handle how that when these vehicles is in line already and not gonna able to reverse and did a so. And the warrior part of the Rasta will proceed now, because with soldier like, get out of the way, is something like that, you know. So we go in, but is not our vehicle is opening that door. Is who did a front of we, and vehicle just make use of it and go in. Them never have like a group of soldiers out there, you know. Them just have normal sentries. Because this what I tell you about is an unexpected thing, you know. Them would expect the thing run according to how Donald Sangster arrange it. We go in King's house and we find parking. And as I tell you, I never even to go up so near. But what I could see, things where one sit up and celebrities and ting, and I could see when them handing out the medals them going out and them kind of way then. Jakes, you were looking inside? Ites, I could see because which part them there is like a veranda, like upon a semi-veranda in my description. It was out of that kind of place where you could glance inside, and that's where I did witness Buggy and Ass. Them was drinking. Hooligan from West Kingston. And the brethren that His Majesty was scolding like, I might know him, you know. And I could see him. I could see him where I was in that action. So if I tell anybody about that, I say, is scold him, His Majesty a scold him, you know. And even if you look upon the photograph, it looks so. And it have the attention of the Governor General and certain ones. I know that brethren, but I can't draw up him name. Him could be one of the Salt Laneists. Jakes, did you hear anything of the things His Majesty said that evening? His Majesty supposed to make the statement, warriors, priests, and traitors, be still and know that I am He. Ites, certain things were said that was set up there. But to be honest, the bees hive that I was in, buzz, everybody try to talk around the place. But there is mon beside me, and when we get back to our encampment, them mon say, you didn't hear what him say? That was a big talk. My tape recorder wasn't on, but it was said. Ites, did you have it down when His Majesty went to the cenotaph? Jakes, we're talking about laying the wreath at Marcus Garvey's tomb? Ites, all right. Well, me and Tani have to climb a tree. We know about that itinerary. Is 2 times I climbed that tree. I climbed the tree before when them bring back Marcus Garvey's remains, 1964, when Bustamante commissioned Leslie Alexander, real estate auctioneer, to go to Hammersmith Place in England to bring back the remains. So it was an attractive thing. Everybody go out of parade, out of parish church, watch see what a gwan. And me and Tawny lean up on a fence over so. And after that ceremony, dim head for race course. We gone long time try to reach up there. crowd already await upon the ting, and we had to climb on a tree. When His Majesty come there, we had to do the same ting, 'cause down upon the ground, you not see nothing, you know. It was a big occasion, man. People fill the place. I see all he does, because he bothers with that respect, you know, for the national heroes. Jakes, it come like His Majesty's visit have a lot to do with Jamaican nationalism. Ites, I see where all this was in the making, like in the sense of ordained. Like Jamaica is a deeply rooted Pan-African country, you know, in the realms of people whose names call, like Paul Bogle, and everybody mix up, come round the place from the slave trade. 'Cause think of what happened during that period of time, according to my memory, under Donald Sangster reign. Is 3 times I find myself go at that Heroes Park. And I have to put in this part. A 9th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference was held in Lagos, Nigeria, and Donald Sangster supposed to represent the Jamaican government. It could be the Parliamentary Finance Conference, 'cause Donald is the Minister of Finance them time. When he goes there in 1964, when he was leaving Government House in Lagos, Nigeria, him was wondering why so much military man outside will him never see when him was in there. You see, when him leave, get in him limousine and leave, that time they kill Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Maliwa, the federal prime minister. And they kill the Sadunu of Sakauto, Sir Amadou Bello. Take a note upon that. And they kill the chief Obafemi Awolowo, because the Biafran crisis start, you know. Wamakubo Gowan take over, and Dr. Michael Okapara, who I met up at Coke Chapel steps. Him is from Biafra. I talked to that man, and him give we Rastas encouragement. And him was saying, if there is anyone who can identify themselves from the Igbo tribe, they would bring them back. Because him is an Igbo, you know. Like Ross Lawrence, a Nigerian Rasta. Lawrence known all them man when him was a like boy. Jakes. Dr. Michael Okpara, him came to Jamaica before 66. It was 1962. Reference to Nettleford, page 62. What about Montego Bay? Did you go to Montego Bay to see the king depart? Iris, yes, I did make that through Legsman. Him was making a money locally, and him bought an Austin Cambridge. Him buy this Austin Cambridge, and me and Tawny and Dizzy Johnny and Iceton did go. We full it. Maybe we have 6 people in there. And I can remember when we reached Discovery Bay is a bunch of sirens. Is speed cop pull we over. Because every vehicle that gonna carry the officials, them gone the train with His Majesty. So these is empty vehicle going to Montego Bay to bring them home back. And cop give them road clearance. That's why them back we off like. And then we follow them. And I can remember when you finish with Queens Highway, you gonna go through Rio Bueno, which is a narrow road. And then we still behind them to the Best Way, going into Falmouth now. but them lost we now. But crowd they upon all the way, because of the siren. The nose what it'll make through all them bush, people they upon roadside, and thinking is maybe is His Majesty vehicle. Well, we go in a Montego Bay, and now we is stranger in Montego Bay now, and we had to find somewhere and park. So we find a parking upon the outskirts and take walking. Because His Majesty will be coming soon, and we trying to seek position now, and the best place is to find weself upon St. James Street. Is a one-way, you know. But He is gonna break the one-way. Then we get weself in position, almost on the square. Right at the square by the fountain dem have chairs set up, and brethren did start to sit up in the chairs at the square. Every seat what you see out there mark MHR, and certain officials MHR, member of the House of Representatives. And it be that was the time me smell the rat, and it no dead yet, because me see all Gordon Langdon, Superintendent of Police, out there, really vex. And you can see each of him, boy, vex because you go sit down in a man's chair like that. And who the hell you think you is? It not prepare for you, but is the carelessness of security and how them plan them ting. So now His Majesty is coming up now. You can hear the excitement from where Him pass already. Crowd of people run behind the car, so Him is not too far. Is right then we see a little man come between us. It was Jack Chambers, a Montagonian brethren, who was with we in Backawal, and his queen's sister Evelyn, and him son Iode, who grew up in Backawal. Is right then His Majesty appear. Me can't forget that. Me and Tawny and Legsman stand up on their so and hail Him. Him was only like 10-15 feet from we. Jay, so did you look in a Him face? Iris, a man like that, Him eyes are such a way. I can remember the glance in Montego Bay when Jack Chambers, day against, beside, me so. And that glance is universal, Jakes. I hail His Majesty from my own mouth, and I see Him looking upon me. But I don't willing to say, is me alone? 'Cause every man I hail Him at the same time. But Him cover, like a wide-angle shot. Him just to cover you. And Him did that when Him pon the plane step at the airport too. You must realize how much people hail His Majesty at one time, you know? Like a teamwork scene. So that is the version on that. So after that, we is trying to group up back. Our one another who travel together. To leave because of how police was going on and ting there. Although we never leave right away. I think we leave when His Majesty going to his hotel. Brethren gone all of the hotel, gone camp out already, and all at airport and all of that. We know in of that. People never accustomed to such a gathering before, and certain people go there with them unruliness, and that is chucking the police, you know. is the finishing touch, you know, but is not everyone who can give you the account who did go to Montego Bay, and them age group and data. For is not everyone who at airport in Kingston gonna have the access to gone there to Montego Bay. It seem like is all brethren from the west take up them ting there. J. Make we shift the polarity on a different question. Make me ask about the impact of the Emperor's visit on Far Eye. Did it strengthen Rastafari toward repatriation? Or what was the effect? Ites, His Majesty visit is very educational, you know. It is so educational that I can put in a few couple bits. Especially like when you see His Majesty bend down so, is like him scolding a brethren, like him saying, you have to behave unoself, you know. You see, when I leave here, Jamaica and ting, if uno don't do this and that, uno nah get through. Jakes, so you know that photograph? Ites, yes man, how you mean? So His Majesty's mission was to open a door for we, the Rastafari. When him go to the university, when him allow us at King's house, is him place, you know, 'cause it the King's house, and him allow we up there and see all them ting there, and when him do the school in Payne Avenue, although it's a shame to how people, the authorities, treat it. Following up that, when you read the selected speeches and utterances of His Majesty, like we study at Sankofa, then you would realize that His Majesty's chief kind of thing for change people behavior and otherwise is that he believe in education, especially in a time like this. Else you will grow up and don't know that even nothing done wrong with Europe is only the consciousness. And it teach us, if you read His Majesty's statements properly, His Majesty ground with everybody in the world, you know. His Majesty have a peaceful type way how he does ting. And we was not looking for him come to Jamaica and scold Donald Sangster and the Governor General, which is CCC, Clarence Clifford Campbell, and say, how you know treat Rasta soul and all that. His Majesty would never go into that. He would use other means of diplomacy. Because think of script that show you where Sir Kenneth Blackburn, the last governor of Jamaica, would really write documents wanting British Foreign Office to send emissary to Ethiopia with a paper to tell His Majesty to denounce us. You can follow up enough things to know that we get a change through the visit. His Majesty say to the 1963 mission, when you go home, brethren, you see when uno left here and go home, uno organize and centralize. Later His Majesty come here and don't see we reached that yet. But His Majesty's thing is mystic, you know, Jakes. The government, we could have tell Donald Sangster, His Majesty nah come here through UNO, through government to government business. Him come here for siwi. And it proven to the access that we get. And we can bring back Gordon Langdon in enough kind of thing, you know. Them, the authorities, nah know His Majesty's business. Because Rasta is nobody in Jamaica them time. because you have to see those things. Breaking of protocol had to allow, because them couldn't get Fedu Rasta nothing when His Majesty is here. Like say, you see them fire tear gas and bust up something. Tear gas never explode and a dim kind of thing, you know. We perform things that them could not tear gas us. J. Ites, before you tell me, say that not just Rasta but all of the Jamaican people was still under colonialism when His Majesty came. So how do you see the impact of the visit? What impact did the visit have on the colonial mentality, society at large? Ites, yeah, there was a great change. You know why? Because the people them, before His Majesty came here, them say His Majesty have nothing to do with us, the Jamaican people. What should have convinced them was to read the report of acceptance when the 1961 mission did go to Ethiopia. Because a lot of people don't read the report. Them deal with hearsay, heresy. Like go into it deep to know that these Jamaican delegates accepted in the different African countries and, you know, because it caused His Majesty's government to accommodate that trip, to leave what him a do and all them kind thing there. But what you are asking me now is to know that people usually say His Majesty don't have nothing to do with we, and you'll never see it. Because even we self, Rasta, never. Jakes, I never even have it in myself that His Majesty would ever come to Jamaica. And the people them down there have it in His mind that we, the Rasta, would never see His Majesty, and that we would never leave here, and this and all that. And His Majesty come, and we star the show. So when His Majesty leaves here, He leave people redeemed from how them was thinking. That's why there's so much Rasta today, after a while. Because think of it, all of a sudden a new brand house rise within Rasta, which is 12 tribes, seen? And changes around the place. His Majesty go out of Payne Avenue, out of the slum, and Rasta is everywhere. And them can't stop Rasta from move round and all that. Them have to wait till him leave before them lick you down. You know what? That is equivalent to me, under certain realms. The ganja affairs. All the persecution we undergo with the ganja business, and suddenly government himself have to say him legalize it. And is now the people themselves start to acknowledge that Rasta go to Ethiopia. And Rasta they are England now. And Rasta here and there, and everything is a changes. And the singers and the players of instruments, their songs become a prophesying, you know? Jakes. Well, what about the fact that reggae come into being right after the visit, like a couple years later? Ites. Yes. Well, I was at Trenchtown. Remember that, when the reggae business born. So I was just talking about 12 tribes birth and reggae birth, and look at the reggae business. There is a brother that don't practice sophistication, and it seemed like him don't want nothing at all out of it. And because of that, him don't get the upfront page, attention, into all the reggae music, which is Mortimer Plano. Because who star the reggae, which is Bob Marley and the Wailers, come through for him hand. pics of Haile Selassie is the chapel, Peter Tosh at Protest. Is an inspired period of time, when our beloved Carol Yanni, if she was here, she would fit in certain parts of the reasoning. Don't feel I forgot her, Ites, after the visit. There is big changes in Rasta, Young people who had the privilege of read and write, and time now set for them to go into the world, them come in a Rasta. Rasta move from a tattoo to a palace. The foundation of the Rastafari movement. Leonard Howell became the catalyst of Rastafari consciousness in colonial Jamaica. He started his Rastafari teachings in the 1930s in the deprived areas of West Kingston. Joseph Hibbert started his ministering in St. Andrew, in a district called Benboa. Archibald Dunkley started his teachings in Port Antonio, but Robert Hines stayed in Kingston, along with Leonard Howell. As time went by, Joseph Hibbert, as well as Archibald Dunkley, moved to Kingston and united with Howell and Hines in the struggle. So to be fair, they were all equally early pioneer in the great struggles of the Rastafari people's movement. The message of all four Rastafari preachers were that Emperor Haile Selassie is the returned Messiah, the one who was crowned on 2nd November 1930 with the titles King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, which is justified by Revelation 5:25 and Revelation 19 verses 19 through 20. Other biblical prophecies that were taken into account were Revelations 5:5, Revelation 17:14, 19:16, 17:21. The Bible also said, "Princes shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God." Psalms 68:31. Also Isaiah 11:1 through 2. There shall come forth a rod from the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord. Utterance of Leonard Howell, G. Marag. The glory that was Solomon greater still reigns in Ethiopia. We can see all the kings of the earth surrendering their crowns to His Majesty Rastafari, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, earth's rightful ruler, to reign forever and ever. Upon His Majesty Rastafari's head are many diadems, and on his garments a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. O come, let us adore him, for he is King of Kings and Lord of Lords, the conquering Lion of Judah, the elect of God and the light of the world. His Majesty Rastafari is the head over all man, for he is the supreme God. His body is the fullness of him that filleth all in all. Now, my dear people, let this be our goal. Forward to the King of Kings must be the cry of our social hope. Forward to the King of Kings to purify our social standards and our way of living, and rebuild and inspire our character. Forward to the King of Kings to learn the worth of manhood and womanhood. Forward to the King of Kings to learn his code of laws from the Mount, demanding absolute love, purity, honesty, and truthfulness. Forward to the King of Kings to learn his laws and social order, so that virtue will eventually gain the victory over body and soul, and that truth will drive away falsehood and fraud. Members of the King of Kings, arise, for God's sake, and put your armor on. Bongo Poro, first priest, high priest of the Nyabingi house. Ancient priest Bongo Poro was born in 1906 or 1907 in Kingston. Thus, he was considerably older than Bongo Wato, who was born in 1925, same year as Sam Brown. He was a general contractor by trade, most working as a painter. He sighted up Rastafari sometime in mid to late 1940s and had connections with Robert Hines and later Brother Myers Group, located just across the lane from Capo's Revival Church in Trenchtown. He was a Trenchtown Rasta for most of his life, living on 9th Street during the 1950s and 1960s. He moved closely with Bongo Lloyd, not to be confused with Jah Lloyd, another ancient who was born around 1916 and came from Westmoreland, and Ross Dermanite, another ancient born in 1911, who entered the movement in 1938. Before there was any recognized position of high priest within the house, Poro was largely regarded as filling that function. He was an outstanding preacher and man of words who was fluent in the Bible and its prophetic texts. It was he and Bongo Lloyd who carried Nyabingi to the country parishes from town, starting in the early 1960s. In the 1970s, the Nyabingi house operated under the name of the Judah Coptic Assemble of Elders, located at 11 Welcome Avenue in Seaview Gardens. Poro remained the leading patriarch there until the schism that occurred in 1974 to 75 around the issue of a collection box into which the congregation contributed for the purpose of purchasing a bus. After that incident, Poro separated from the Judah Coptic branch and moved to the beach at 9 Miles, Bull Bay, variously known as Subway Beach, Lion Bay, and now as Bob Marley Beach. It was at that site in 1975 that Bongo Poro conferred the name of the Haile Selassie Theocracy Government upon the Nyabingi house, with the overstanding that the celebration of the Nyabingi represented the church, while the organizational body of the elders represented the government. That particular celebration of the beach, which I believe was the King's Earthstrong, brought together the largest assembly of elders at that site since the schism at Welcome Avenue and the subsequent split within the house that saw Blackheart and his group celebrating a bingi in town and the rest of the house celebrating at Sunny Hill in St. Thomas. Following that celebration, Bongo Poro, Bongo Sheffin, and others remained permanently on the beach. From that point on until the early 1980s, the beach community became the site where the house kept first light and third light reasonings, essentially councils of elders every first and third Sunday of the month. I was living in Bull Bay at the time, and this coincided with my earliest work among the congregation. Poro transitioned in 1983. Now is a picture of High Priest Ancient Bongo Time, High Priest Bongo George Ions, and several more Rastafari elders who are not named. Wisemind Publications. Unshackle your mind.